And we are live. Welcome, everyone. This is your host, Abraham L. Jaguar. We have two very special guests today, but before that, this channel is proudly sponsored by Magi-Knights Awakening. This is a tabletop role-playing game where you play as magical girl and super sentai heroes, facing off against Lovecraftian horrors. You will find it in the description and in the pinned comment. This channel is also proudly sponsored by Dead Studios, the publishers and developers of Dames of Asstoria, a tabletop role-playing game where you play as monster girls, experiencing high adventure in a world that doesn't fully accept them. They have recently released Daughters of Lamb. This is a pay-what-you-want tabletop RPG, where you get to play as cybernetic nuns with guns, looking for the missing pieces of their AI god. You will find it in their website. The links will be in the description and in the pinned comment. And of course, the Red Room Publishing. Please check out their store for exclusive tabletop RPG products. They have recently released Savage Swords. This is a Conan inspired tabletop RPG where you get to explore ancient civilizations and confront forgotten nightmares. You will find it in the description and in the pinned comment too. And today we have the masterminds behind the Red Room Publishing. We have Miguel and Silvia. Welcome.
Thank you for having us, Aram.
Thank you.
I've heard about those Red Room guys.
Yeah, they're no good.
No, they are bastards.
Their uh, reputation score varies depending on the circle.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
get a bonus depending on the
definitely.
people.
You ask some people, you have some nasty answers.
So yes, let's kick off like with a bang. What is the current state of the Red Room? What are your current projects?
Okay, so let's start by exactly what you were uh, talking about. I'm going to show it in paper format. This is it's recent in
you,
paper
you
format.
can
We
show
always
the size of the book.
oh
Can
yeah,
also show like that the number of pages.
yeah. This is a large tome, and we always release first in digital, so this is still new in paper format. It's available both in paperback and hardcover. This is a little bit more expensive than usual because it's a very large book and it's in color, not black and white. So this is the most recent thing. We decided to go back a little bit to fantasy, but not quite the traditional style. Sword and sorcery, which is more like our style. So Savage Shorts. This is the most recent thing. But obviously there are other plans.
And what was your inspiration to create Savage Swords? Because there are many flavors of fantasy when it comes to sword and sorcery style. But what made you think we need to take on the Conan, the Conan
Yeah,
sorcery style?
exactly. Conan. Yeah, I haven't been a fan of Conan for a long time. I only read the stories, the Hardy Howards, about I don't know 5 years ago. But I quite liked it, and and definitely it is my thing in fantasy. We also like kind of well, she likes it better than I do. The Witcher, which is
Hmm.
not sword and sorcery. I'm just comparing stuff, but definitely in fantasy, Conan is my thing.
It was
So
a bit of inspiration, The Witcher, also for Bastards, but I think the Savage Sword was also a bit of a need that I would say that because Wretched Bastards is not exactly the type of fantasy game that we wanted to develop. Well, because it's high fantasy, right? We prefer
yeah, but
fantasy with
fine.
yes, not
Not
really, but
too high,
we
medium
prefer
fantasy.
Conan that is fantasy with no playable races, so you play only humans. And there was an idea before behind Bastards that we never got to develop. That was the full world. And then we were talking about it, and Miguel said, "Well, but it doesn't really make sense. I don't want to develop the full world in bastards, in with elves and dwarves and orcs. I rather do it in a savage sorts humans only setting." So, and people would say that some of the locations are the same that were mentioned in bastards but not developed, because bastards took place mostly in what is Europe, in Bastards World, and especially in one place. So it's a bit of a comeback to say, okay, maybe Bastards should have been done as a sword and sorcery game.
We use the same map because the places are the same. So
Yes, exactly, and that way we could use the same
and
map by Joe
it's a very
Tadaka.
nice looking map. I love this map, so that's, I had to use it again. So yeah, that's the with I developed the world that was already outlined in Wretched Bastard Second Edition. So, but all the rest is new. The rules are not Wretched, even though Wretched and Red aren't very dissimilar. They have many things in common. Um, what is different definitely is character levels. There are no character levels in this version. There are some other things that are different. Magic in this one is especially different from the others. It's still ritual magic, but not well. There are several different types of magic. There's eldritch magic, shamanism, and and traditional magic, and so it's so you have rituals, but you also have eldritch magic, which is not ritual based. You channel the powers of the elder things or beings or whatever.
And the
And
story
was
is
it
also
easy for?
different.
Oh,
Sorry,
excuse me. Go ahead.
I was saying that the story, just because we say that we developed the world of bastards, but it's not, the story behind the setting is different, so that people will not think that, oh, they just picked up in Wretched Bastards and called it another name. No, the places in the world have the same name, but the development of the world is quite different.
Yes, and it's not nothing to do with with the wretched verse, as we call it,
Mhm.
factions and all that.
I found it really cool that when I was going through Savage Swords, it looks like it's the past of Avalidad, right? Like there is a subtle connection
Yeah,
between
it
the
doesn't.
settings.
Yeah, that was still the one of the things that we kept the name Avalilat, which was from the wretched verse. Um we use it in this case because I don't know. It sounds weird, sounds exotic, so I've kept it. Some of
I
the
think
other
it's
names.
really cool because what if you had like a campaign in Avalidad in the future, and there is like this legend of a campaign that
Yeah.
happened in the past in Savage Swords.
Yeah, well, definitely in the wretched verse, all of that is connected, and you can just travel around in time and all that, so you can play with those with the same factions, including the factions traverse all the universe.
And what made you guys decide that you needed like to have a separate Wretched RPG and the Red system?
Well, mostly because Wretched had a concept which was playing anti-hero characters. Even though we changed that a little bit in second edition by uh, changing the alignment alternative, which was just sins, and it started to be sins and virtues. So you can play a virtuous character in Wretched, but it was already ingrained in the concept. It's called Wretched after all, and also we adapted several genres that are kind of similar in some way because all of those movie genres are about or at least partly about anti-hero characters. So you have spaghetti western, of course, and then you have all those fantasy rip-offs of Conan where the characters are not quite heroes, and horror movies and giallo movies, of course. There are not really heroes in giallo movies, maybe occasionally, but mostly not. So even the references were all about um, genres where most characters are gray, are in the gray area, not quite white or black, just in the gray areas. So we wanted to get away from that concept and to get away from those movie genres that were the references, the major references for Ratchet. So the idea is, okay, let's stop using the name Ratchet. But to do that and then use exactly the same rules would be kind of weird. So I changed a few things that I didn't like as well. I'm not a fan of character levels, so I scraped the character levels. A few other adjustments in rules as well. I'm not using the sins and virtues anymore. We are using a scale, a path. We are calling it the path of a virtue in the oh
Sin and virtue.
no, not sin and
Uh,
virtue.
no, virtue, rightfulness, righteousness,
No,
and
I'm confusing the words now
I think I'm confusing it that you have more than one in the.
because the sins and virtues, and now there's the other ones. It's not corruption as well. Uh, well, I'll
That's nice
remember it.
about how deep the system is, because it's a lot more nuanced. You have characters that are a bit
Yeah,
more complex than the standard fantasy norm.
you
I
are
think
not
that
just
perhaps
you're not just including in Ratchet. You chose one thing or the other, and now it's a scale, so you can descend into darkness or ascend into virtue, or just stay in the middle and be a common person.
And I think Wretched was fun, but it was a bit of a box. In that we put
Yes,
ourselves in a box. For example,
it was
Gothic
boxing me. Yeah,
could
that's true.
not happen in Wretched. Because it will be, oh, this needs to be Wretched. And Wretched Gothic would not go very well, for example. Or other games like Twilight of Empires, The End of Innocence, that is our kids' game, so those could not be Wretched.
Yeah, that
mhm.
was another reason. Yes. Well, since you mentioned that, the end of innocence, this was a strange project for us. Sylvia had already talked about doing a kids game a long time ago, but I was always saying, well, this is not we can't do a ratchet kids game. So when we started doing not ratchet games, okay, this is the time for this one.
Even though there are wretched kids. Just the other day, I saw a video where a little kid in Argentina tried to stab a policeman. Just ran at the policeman and tried to stab him. So
Yeah, well, we did think about that doing a ratchet kids game, but then it won't be a kids game anyway.
It could still be a Wretched Kids someday
Yeah,
when
you
you
can turn
play
it into that.
Naughty Kids, but yeah, in that way people will be a problematic. Oh no, because kids need to be innocent.
Still, well,
I
it's
think
called
you handled it
the end.
perfectly. The end of innocence. I've had positive comments about it, but I've had some weirdos. Some weirdos. A certain guy. He's a bit of a nobody, but he just went into my channel like when it first came out, and he was like, "Why are you making games about little children?" And I was like, "Well, you have cartoons and movies, Stand By Me, teenagers, boys doing thing, but why?" Well, it's very challenging because imagine you're a little kid and you're facing off against so many dangers. It's a lot more challenging than being an adult. It makes for a very interesting experience. And then he stopped commenting. But yeah, as I always say, the problem lies with the person, not the game.
In this case, it was the idea was for us is the nostalgia about your own childhood. So
And we decided
Yes, I'm
to
very, very fascinated with that because you don't have too many of those. You have like kids on bikes and
yeah,
whatnot. But definitely it's a genre that could be further explored.
but I wasn't really going that way. I was thinking more about other stuff, and well, this one, there are two locations in this game. One of the locations is very much inspired by Ray Bradbury's stories, especially Dandelion Wine and the other
something
two that
wicked
are
this way comes.
something. What? Yeah, and another. The other one is Autumn. Autumn comes. No, I don't know. Well, it's the other one in that trilogy. Not quite a trilogy, but it's a thematic trilogy with children characters, and I liked. I liked very much those books. Of course, you can also play something like the Famous Five or
Hmm.
Hardy Boys or whatever. The other location is based on a Spanish TV show, which I don't know if you've ever watched it. It's called Verano Azul.
I don't think so.
You should look for it. It's interesting. Of course, it's very
Verano Azul?
outdated. Yeah,
Oh,
I think it's available on Tubi or something like that.
It was very
You
popular
won't need
here
you won't
in
need subtitles, so you can watch it.
it was very popular here in the was it was
Yes,
the
it was
80s, right?
extremely
Yes.
popular. Yeah,
And of
this
course also
when
in Spain.
when I was a child. Yeah, it was very popular in Spain. Extremely popular in Spain. When if you ask anyone in Spain and about that, they will a Gen Xer. I mean, they will remember it. And in Portugal, it's the same thing. So obviously the show is not popular, but it has a different atmosphere. So it's one is the autumn town, and the other one is a summer town. So things are different in those two locations.
now, would you say that anti-heroes are more interesting to play than compared to conventional heroes?
Can Do you want to answer this one?
Yes, I would say for me, yes. Because well, first, even in novels or in films, I think the anti-heroes are more interesting because well, they're more complex. And when you're playing an anti-hero, is the that person doesn't want to be the hero, doesn't want to save the day, but sometimes he just has to do it. So you don't want to be involved. That is interesting because you don't want to, but it's also hard to play because you're playing a character. If he's an anti-hero, your reaction would be, why do I care about this? You need to to find a reason, and the game master needs to find a reason for you to actually care and for your character not to say. And I think that happened to us sometimes. We had characters that just decided, oh no, run away, run away. I'm an anti-hero, so I'm not a nice guy. I don't have to to save the day. So if you're playing a good character, you'll have to do it because you're the hero.
That makes a lot of sense. In fact, in my recent one shot, we played called Divinity Lost La Cena. If you haven't seen that one shot, if you have some free time, some other day, I recommend it. Josh here, Full Metal State, our viewer Josh here, he was playing one of the twins. You had two twins, a girl and a boy, well, in high school, and they had this telepathic connection. But Josh's character, Learco, he was very selfish. Not like full selfish, but pretty selfish. And when the trouble started, he basically got under the table and waited for everybody to suffer during the battle, and he survived. He survived, but yes, that's the sort of character that people remember, and sometimes because of flaws, you identify with those characters because you are not always like the perfect example to follow.
Yeah. I always play anti-hero characters in role-playing games, so it was natural for me to develop a system that was built around that.
I'm just thinking that last time that I ran something, it was a one shot that I wrote for country. Miguel's character just decided to run away when things started. He said, "I'm gonna get my horse and I'm going to run away." Of course, he then played another another character NPC, but he was the only one that survived, I think.
You see, being an anti-hero sometimes is good, or a normal person. In this case, it was just a normal person.
By the way, I'm really glad that you are taking that approach with your games, especially with Savage Swords. But did you know that the newest Conan game that is about to come out has safe spaces and safe
Yep,
words?
yep. We were discussing that on Twitter a couple of days ago, and I used that to do some self promo, of course. In Savage Swords, there are no safety tools or X cards or whatever. There's just your own maturity, I guess. You don't need
I
Your
anything
own
else.
preferences as well.
Yes,
I
of
don't know
course.
if you watched the video that I released about a couple of months ago where I talked about the whole safe words, safe spaces thing. Did you watch that video?
Yeah, I watched that one. Yes.
And like I said, tabletop RPGs, they are perfectly safe. The game is nothing is going to happen to you. It's all in the
Yeah,
imagination. And so it
it's
should
supposed
be
to
all if you want
comfort.
those safe words, safe whatever, at least at the very least call them comfort tools, comfort spaces, comfort zones, whatever, because it's just there for the comfort of certain people that yeah need professional help. But like
Yeah,
I mentioned that in that video, you have publishers, designers that they have a choice. Do you want a lot of crazy people to buy your games, or do you want only the sane individuals to buy your games? And they think, no, I want to sell even to the crazy ones. So they're going to
Yeah, of
tell you,
course. I don't care.
this game is dangerous, but with these safe words and safety, who knows what, you can buy my game. So please buy my game. With this, you'll be perfectly safe.
Yeah, that doesn't work. But I think for Conan, even worse because in the rule discuss if people want safe tools or not. Some people will say, "Oh yes, but if you play in conventions or if you play with people you don't know, you need them." Blah blah blah. But on that test, they were all also saying that Conan was problematic. Well, they're not exactly saying that was problematic, but some of the teams were not very. If you're going to say that, maybe you shouldn't have used Conan.
Yeah.
It's we're going to use Conan, but oh, this is bad and outdated.
And usually the fact that they have safety tools included in the game usually is a hint that it's not just that. They probably watered down the setting and at least some of it, I guess. At least the slavery parts and all that. I guess it's
Yes.
probably going to happen. But
We've been playing Savage Sword, so now we stop it because we came back to Darker. But the introductory adventure that it's in the game, you start as in the slave caravan, and then you need to escape.
of course, the characters are not the
So
slavers. The
yes, of
slaves.
course, the characters are the slaves.
Yeah, they like to really attack that aspect of tabletop RPGs. One of my friends, well, more of an acquaintance, I could say, the head of Free League Publishing. I don't know if you know him, Thomas Hardenstrom. Oh, I always have problem
I know the
mentioning
name
his
at
name,
least.
but uh-huh.
I
He,
never
he-
talked to him.
okay. Well, we used to exchange emails every now and then, and he's of course the creator of the Mutant Year Zero universe. And he actually got attacked when that game first came out. You included slaves. How could you? You have the slave archetype. Oh, you're a horrible human being. And sadly enough, he caved in and he was like, yes, no, I'm sorry, I'm changing slave to grunt. But I always say it's logical to have slaves in a savage post-apocalypse world. It is a bad thing, so it is expected that there are slaves. So and definitely never give in, especially because it's logical, it's consistent with the setting.
I'm showing it again because he likes it. It's Jeremy Hart's work. It's my favorite Jeremy Hart's, probably for of all the things that there are several pages here with Jeremy's works. Oh, by the way, I'm doing a new version of no, not a version, an update on Darker, um, including lots of plot hooks. I can call it
Story
that.
seeds,
Story
pieces
seeds
of fiction.
written by a friend of ours that he started writing them after he purchased the book on our Discord channel, and they are so good that I decided I have to update the book and include them there because I
There's
could
some in New
release it.
Flash already, right? Some of his, the ones that he wrote for New Flash are in New Flash, and the ones that he wrote for Savage
Yes, yes,
Swords
yes.
are part of Savage Swords.
Josh has a question. Is the
Darker is
darker
red.
system? Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Go
Darker
ahead,
is
go
red.
ahead.
All what there's another distinction between Wretched and Red. The the red books are US letter size, and the Wretched books are smaller. They are digest sized. So everything that I've shown today, and I might still show something else. They are all US letters, so they are all red. They are the most recent ones. Another cover that
We
I
have
like
a
very much
very
is this.
interesting. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
This cover is brilliant by Jay Tanaka, even in spite of his name sounding Japanese, is Spanish. And he did a brilliant work for this one. This is the Spanish, the Golden Century game, 17th century game, and I quite like the work they did for this.
I
But you
really like
can,
the art for that book. Uh-huh.
yeah, very good. And the comic as well it was also done by a Spanish author. His name is Ibai
Mhm.
Canales, and this is very good.
Is he
Very
the
very.
same artist from some of the Lamentation of the Flame Princess modules?
I don't know. Maybe it's
It
possible.
looks very similar, but I like his style.
Maybe.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know if he works frequently for role playing games, but I know that he knows what role playing games are, so it's possible. He may have done that.
We have a very interesting comment here by Starlove. Had such things in No Thank You Evil RPG, a game for young kids, and in a live play of one of the games with real kids, the kids never use them once. It
Mhm.
is just virtue signaling.
Yeah,
Yes,
that makes
that's a bit disappointing. Go ahead, go ahead.
why would kids use that? I don't know. It's strange. Kids don't want that kind of thing. Kids want to be scared.
Yes,
At least
exactly.
kids want kids want to play a game. I don't know if it's a horror game or not, but it's if it's
The
called
idea
No
of being
Thank You
scared.
Evil Sound. Yeah, I think so. I always liked that. I was a fan of horror movies when I was a kid, so you want to be
And
scared.
when you're playing a character, a game, you're playing a character, so it's pretend, it's make believe. So kids know it's not real, and it can't really hurt them. And the fact that they can be scared in a safe
Yeah,
space, a safe
exactly.
environment, that's it. It's already safe because it's not real.
I would say that it's even safer than watching a movie because you're not watching gore or something like that. Maybe you hear the description, but I don't know. For a
Let's
kid,
be honest. If there's something if it's going in a way that you don't not really liking it and you're not feeling well, you can always say that to the game master and to the rest of the group.
yeah,
Guys, sorry, but this is making me uncomfortable.
yeah.
Comfort. That's the key word. Comfort. They need to. Whoever was the jackass that said that tabletop RPGs are not safe, like he needs to go to hell. I'm sorry, but the tabletop RPGs, it's all about comfort. Nothing. If your character gets gored, killed, decapitated in the game, it's like in a video game. If Mario Bros, you fall off the cliff, nothing is going to happen to you in real life.
I think the first safety tool was by Ron Edwards. I'm not sure if it was for Sorcerer or not, but I think it was Lines and Veils. I think, but I'm not sure if he was the
He's on my
inventor of
list.
the concept. Yeah, I don't like him.
Ron Edwards.
Well, I don't know. I don't actually know him, but I don't really like him. It was the Forge guy. The Forge is something that has bad memories for me.
Let's see. A comment by Josh. I felt like Abraham went too far in the cult session. It was very unsafe. If only I had the protection of something during the session. Yeah. His mind almost blew up in real life.
That's
Definitely.
why he was
I have to
under the
watch that.
table.
I think that their Elder was there, right? In that La Cena.
Which one? I couldn't hear you. Can you come
I
again?
was I was asking if Elder was also in that game session.
Helder, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we know him. We've known him
I
for
thought it
some
was
years.
pronounced Helder.
Well, yes, it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of like that.
Oh, okay,
In
yeah.
Portuguese,
Yeah,
that's
he
a
was there. He was there, and
yeah.
he at the first moment he had a bit of a problem with understanding roleplay because I just wrote on the Discord server for this session. You are not asking questions to the game master. You are describing your actions, and well, everybody agreed, and he started to play, and he was like, so I'm standing like in a room, or where am I? And I was like, you suddenly find yourself losing your sanity talking to someone that is not there. You suffer 3 stability points of damage. But really cool session, definitely. Um, Now, when it comes to future plans of the Red Room Publishing, do you have something cooking, something in the works?
Mhm. I do well. Besides updating Darker, which is almost done, I'm waiting for a series of comic book pages as an introduction. I'm starting to do that in several games. I think it looks nice. I don't know. That's no one has said that it looks awful, so I'm going to use it yet. The other thing, it's kind of an experiment. I'm going to do a summarized or condensed version of the Red Rules and use it to re-release some of the Ratchet settings in a non-Ratchet game. Um, I don't know if it will work or not, but at least, well, the plan is to do shorter games and have because Ratchet, you have the core book and then you have the different settings. So you must use 2 books always.
Mhm.
And the plan here is, if you don't like using two books for some reason, and or if you think it's too much information, okay, I'm going to condense those settings into smaller stuff. Maybe use maybe it could be more useful for a one shot. You don't have to read a lot, and so I'm going to release some of those settings with red rules, but also condensed, so it can be a, I don't know, 100 book page book. I mean, perhaps one. I'm thinking 100 pages might be enough. Perhaps not, but I'll try to do that. Um, I haven't decided yet which one will be the first. Sylvia recommended Wretched Epoch, maybe.
Uh-huh. I really like that setting. I hope you take on that project.
And I'm going to give this away to people who purchased the digital copies of the originals because they don't really need them, so they're not going to buy them. So, but if they prefer it, well, it will be a free PDF for them. For everybody else, it will be a shorter book, so it will be less expensive, and especially in book format. That's where you notice more the price
Mhm.
is increasing by pages. So if I can do a yes, yes, I think I could call it that. Yes, brilliant, brilliant idea. So that is for now. We had several other projects that were put on hold because sales started to go down. I don't think it's a good time to start releasing larger
Games, yes.
larger games like these ones. No, these huge books. If it doesn't sell, I would just be losing time doing this right now. So I better
But
leave
there's
them.
still a lot of ideas.
Yeah,
Another thing that I think we need to focus. Well, for me, also this last year I was not able to write a lot, so I'm just trying to focus on doing because I really like doing scenarios, and we have almost no scenarios for the new games on for Red. So I, I will try to do that, and that's what I'm trying to do. Is I try to write something, and then we play it, and then we will release it. But especially for Savage Swords, so we're trying to see if there's interest in people in doing
yeah.
things, and then we release it as an
I asked
anthology.
people on our Discord if they have some ideas and they would like to turn them into scenarios. I would do an anthology with all those different things.
We have an interesting question for you guys here by Josh. What are some of your favorite RPG settings to play, even if it is your system? Well, I guess he means like in a general sense,
Mhm.
right? Even from other games.
Do you start or do I start?
You can start.
Okay, so my favorite games are all horror games, basically. I started I started as most people do with Dungeons and Dragons, but I didn't play Dungeons and Dragons for a long time. Then I found out about Call of Cthulhu. That was my first horror game, I think. Yeah, probably the first I game master at least. And then I found out about Cult. At the time, it was the first edition, so it was that one is my favorite. In spite of some of the flaws, I still think it's the best game. It's the best version they did. Even though second edition is nicer looking. Well, the core book, the source books are hard to read. I'm not a big fan of the recent version. I don't know if I mentioned that already in
You mentioned that a bit in the previous interview we did,
Mhm.
like about a couple of years back. What is it that you dislike about the newest edition? Like precisely.
well, the first thing, Powered by the Apocalypse. I can't stand Powered by the Apocalypse, so that's already a problem. And then I liked that in the past, all the Gnostic stuff was basically just fluff. You didn't use it. If you used it in game, you basically would destroy the characters instantly. It would be a total party kill immediately. I liked it as a Hellraiser RPG with the serial numbers filed off. That's what I liked about it. And the David Lynch influences and the Cronenberg influences and the William Burroughs influences that are things that I like and I've also used in my own settings. This went too much about the Gnosticism stuff, and yeah, that's not for me. It's not my game anymore.
Um,
It's
if
someone
you have the
else.
chance, I highly recommend that you give it a chance one of these days because yes, it had been played horribly. And the Gnostic and Kabbalistic stuff, it is handled with certain like rules. The entity simply cannot go there and like shatter the entire existence. His the different powers, they have certain rules to feed off from people. They are not interested so much in killing people right away, but rather
Mhm.
getting them into the most negative, destructive, uncomfortable situations, and they kind of like feed from that. That's why in the La Cena, the scenario, we had a lot of fun. But the system, the Powered by the Apocalypse, again, terribly handled by the author. It is actually a good system, but the author doesn't understand roleplay. He gives you like this huge menu of moves, and then you're like, oh, what move am I going to? I told everybody in the one shot, forget about the moves. You describe your actions, and I'll tell you what to roll. Roll willpower, roll fortitude, and you tell me the result, and I tell you what happens in the fiction.
Yeah,
I
when we
noticed
tried
it
to
a little
play it,
bit.
that was what when we when we tried to play, that was, I have these moves. What do I do with these moves? I don't know what to do. And I saw other people playing, and it was basically the same. The first start of the session was, oh, I have these moves. I'm going to use it. So you're not really, you're playing outside of you. I like playing in game, right? I like playing inside the character and not doing meta
Yeah.
playing.
Usually that's a problem with story games. You are kind of stepping away from your character and looking at it. You are constructing the story and all that, and that ruins the immersion for me. I like
That's a huge problem. Even today, I just received a really cool RPG, and I already know that I will have to review it in the evening, and I'm going to point out here they present it as a storytelling game, but it is not. You're not telling a story about the characters. You're playing a role, and you're playing a game. You're experiencing the game world as the characters.
Now I'm going to do a mea culpa. I've used the word sometimes, but it was just I wasn't thinking about that. Sometimes I've corrected that lately, but in some of the games I was using the storytelling because I was a vampire player for some years, and
Mhm.
so storytelling system for me is just a yeah.
It's
Vampire.
the
It
Yeah.
fault
stays in your
of
mind
White
and
Wolf. It's
stays
White
in your
Wolf. They
mind.
started to try to separate themselves from Dungeon Master, Game Master, Referee, and they said, no,
Was
no,
a
no.
little,
When you play Vampire the Masquerade, you are a storyteller, the
yeah.
Vampire Chronicles, and they started to create that distortion, and it confused
Yeah.
the hell out of everybody.
I don't think they were. They meant that you were constructing a story when playing vampire. It was just. I don't know. It sounded
If you're
better anyway.
a game master, you're not telling a story. You're
Yeah.
presenting the situation. You're not going. Bobby went into the cave and then he found an orc, and Bobby fought against the orc. It was a fierce, but no, no, no. You present the situation and the players interact with it as simple as that.
And in that way, that makes sense for that old expression from that is the referee, because you are the referee. You're
You
not
are the
deciding
Yeah,
referee.
things. You are
I like
just
referee. I
yes.
like referee. I don't use it that much, but I like referee. I like at least the concept. That's how I play when I'm game mastering. I am a referee. I'm just here to control the rules and to see if everything is running smoothly. Sometimes I can leave the room and people are still talking,
And
especially
sometimes
when it's a role playing intensive thing.
I'm
Sorry.
thinking when we were playing, there were some occasions, and when we were playing Welcome to St. Cloud, for example, that there was a situation between my character and another's character, and then he was complaining that he didn't roll for it to see if he could convince me of the outcome or not. But it was a situation that was so silly, but it was playing so good that Miguel was like, "But you're not going to roll. This is going so well with no dices."
This
And there are
is
actually, just go ahead, Miguel, go ahead.
no. I was just mentioning your the comment here from Jed. Uh, we played a session of Dark Thirst. It was pretty good. It's a Avengers a tennis game. Very simple,
Mm.
very short, and yeah, it's it has the same
I
style
was just
of
going to say that there are also some storytelling RPG hybrid games out there that is perfectly fine. If people are going for like the storytelling role play sort of hybrid experience, that is great. In fact, Josh and I, Full Metal State, as you see him on the screen, he and I we played the first ever storytelling RPG session with actual roleplay here in YouTube, Steam Build Riders. We were going back and forth from playing the role, describing the actions, talking as the character, and also went into those storytelling moments where you get to tell like a little story about the character. So it is perfectly fine to have that sort of experience, but the distinction is important if you want to really play the role.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I don't think it's because in the role playing game people try to discuss what is the best way to play. It really there is no best way to play. The best way to play is the way that you enjoy. Some people play almost as a war game. They're more focused on strategy. Other people like to play at the story level and more build the story, and other people just want to think as the character. So you need to play in the way that works better for you and makes you enjoy the time more.
And
It's
our group
mostly
is
a
immersive.
thing of concepts because, for example, someone could have fun playing basketball. Let's play basketball, right? And they start playing basketball and they start kicking the basketball. And
Yeah.
you're like, what? This is not basketball. No, but we're having fun. So yes, it's all about that.
Mhm,
It's there is no wrong way to play tabletop RPGs, but there is a wrong way to tell the story, or there is a wrong way to play a role. Because you're saying I'm playing a role, and you start telling a story. Well, that's not playing a role. If you
No,
say that you're going
definitely
to tell a
that
story
breaks it.
and you
mhm,
Yeah,
start
that
playing a
breaks the
role,
game.
it doesn't make sense.
That's the thing that breaks the game. If the game master is just railroading everything, but all the rest,
Mm,
playing it more like a war game or more like an immersive game, well, that's those are preferences. I
mhm.
don't know. I cannot play a dungeon. At least, well, I could play one dungeon once, but I couldn't do that every week because I don't like it. But other people like it, so it's wonderful for them.
one of these days we should play a one shot of Cult Divinity Lost so that you can see that the system is not as bad as it appears to be. But like I said, it's the fault of the other, the
I
ones
guess
publishing
if
the game.
the master is used to running Powered by the Apocalypse games, he can fix the way it works. I wasn't, so this is not for me. These rules are not for me.
Yes, yes. Mm. Now, when it comes to the genres that you take on and all of that, was it particularly challenging to handle various archetypes and races and species and whatnot? For example, just with Savage Swords, was it easy for you to come up with the various peoples inhabiting the world?
This is very inspired by real world and real places in the real world. So there's one there's Vitulia, which is ancient Rome. There's Hellas, which is ancient Greece. But then there's France, which is in a different time period, uh, Middle Ages. And then there's Germany, which is Bavar, in early Middle Ages. So basically, I've picked up different inspirations with different time frames in our own world. Of course, there they coexist. But so the technological level is different in different places of the world. Um, Africa obviously is a little bit less developed, at least the part that was
Eh,
called Dark Continent, not Northern Africa, that is close to. It's not called Africa in this case; it's called Corfu. But well, anyway, the place is supposed to be kind of like the real world, but different places are in different timelines.
I was just going to mention that because the way that you handle the peoples with this comment, the Ultra American tabletop TTRPG, he says, "I'm okay with railroading characters if they get too out of control or try to go
Mm.
far off the path. But I think that the world itself does that. You have various peoples in Swords. You have various peoples, and if the characters step into dangerous territory, the war, the hazards, perhaps the political situation as it is understood in that setting, that is going to present the stop, the halt. That is going to bar the players. They cannot move through an ongoing battle in a battlefield. If they go into a swamp that is beyond their preparation, their skill, then that's the one way to stop the
Yeah,
characters. And I think Savage Swords is perfect to present those hazardous and complex
yeah.
situations. I'm going to say,
There are parts in this world that if you are going there, you should think twice because they are very dangerous.
Mhm.
And
And
even if you are rolling for random encounters, there are some pretty dangerous ones. We had one of those
yes,
the last
my
session.
character died on that. My barbarian died because of that. Well, because I didn't run away. Uh, I sacrificed myself to help the rest of the party escape. But I think
Hello.
sometimes the situations would so if you do something that goes too far against the path, you may be punished. So your character may end up dying or not being playable anymore. If suddenly you are wanted for the as a criminal for everybody by everybody, and in both Ratchet we had that maturity level, so you cannot play that character anymore. You need to retire the character and create a new one.
Savage Shores has a
Mhm.
similar thing as well.
Yes.
There's it's optional, but you can use it. A reputation level, which is connected to a wanted level. So if your reputation, if you are infamous, you are wanted, and so you will have penalties, and you might be arrested by the authorities. But then you can be a very honorable character who is, and then in that case, he might have problems if he's going to visit a, for example, a pirate kingdom. He will have you will be regarded as an enemy, and in a peaceful country, you will be regarded as an hero.
I
In
think
for
this comment also connects with what you say because, well, the ultra American, disagrees with Judd that you're actively creating the story as you play. I think Judd is already aware of this, but perhaps he worded it a bit poorly. When you are, for example, playing Savage Swords, you are creating the Conan type of story with all of those nuances. Well, you're not telling the story, but you are creating it by experiencing the game world itself.
You'll only remember that later when you look back, and then you see the whole story. But yeah, you are creating it when you are playing, but at the moment you are not. You are immersed, so you cannot look from outside. You can do that later, remembering. I have many stories like this. Well, for example, Welcome to St. Cloud was built. So the setting was built while we were playing it. Not this group, of course, 20 years ago. And so I just picked up all the notes I had and transformed it into a campaign. And yeah, we did it by playing. It was we constructed that setting by playing.
Interesting comment here by
Yeah,
Starlaw from the Red
yeah,
Room, a publisher known for dark and gritty games. The End of Innocence is a wholesome surprise, grounded, heartfelt, and full of wonder. A truly touching role playing experience.
yeah. I was expecting that people would look at this with some suspicion. Okay, these guys are writing Ratchet, and now they're publishing a kids game. But yeah, well, there's a soft spot here. Uh, it was of course it's a one-off thing. We're not going to do more kids games, even though perhaps we can publish scenarios for for the End of Innocence.
hmm in probably, I mean, we only
And
played one so far.
Jed is probably going to write one scenario for the End of Innocence.
Yes.
We have
This is also
talked.
important by Judd. No one has control of the story. It comes from the events that
Yeah,
happen. Yes, it happens in the present, in the
Mm.
now. And I think
And
the wretched games, all of those um, complicated situations that could arise because of the various values, the moral aspect of things, from the anti-heroes, the villains, you are shaping things as you move along.
And as a game master or a referee or a storyteller, whatever you want to call it, you cannot have, you may, that is why you cannot have a story assigned because you can just, the characters can derail it. And I've seen it, for example, now when I prepare the scenarios, I write them as a sandbox. And sometimes what the players do completely transforms the story. You need to be ready for that. You want to tell one story, but that's not the story that the players want to play, or not the story that they want to tell. It's not the game master story in the end. And sometimes people think that is their story to tell, but it's not.
Hmm. And it also
this
makes perfect. I'll go ahead, Miguel.
this thing that OSR Dwarf just said, that was what I was trying to say before. It only becomes clear after the session is played. So it's you have to look back and then you have a story.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Because in the case of a sandbox situation, just like in real life, I could just walk out of my house and just keep on walking. Eventually, I will bump into a wall, into a building. I will find like perhaps some military guys stopping people to check them for whatever. So it's not like you have complete freedom. It is a sandbox, but within that sandbox, there are many. places that could halt your progress altogether, at least until you solve them.
Yeah, the game master doesn't have to railroad the characters, but if he puts an adversary that is powerful in their way, they'll have to deal with it.
Mhm.
They go back or they face him or whatever.
Hmm.
We had
Let's.
situations with players, sorry, that were always well, they always decide. You can have that player that always decide to do that very stupid thing. And the one thing what I did, it doesn't work for every player, but sometimes you just ask, do you really want to do that? And I discovered that even if I innocently start asking, do you really want to do that, that makes the player think twice. It's like, why are you why are you telling me that? Then it's
Yeah.
it's better not to do it. But
We
you
have
will always have that players that are too creative.
one of our players, the one, the only one that is Portuguese besides us. He always does the wrong thing, but he does it because he likes it, and then it's funny.
But in
There's
this case, it
always
doesn't destroy. Yeah, he always thinks outside
no,
of the
no,
box.
no, no,
It's
no,
something that
no.
you're
He
not. In
does
this case, it
things
doesn't
that
destroy the
no,
campaign. Yeah, nobody's
no, no,
counting
no,
with that.
no, no, no.
When it comes to those sorts of events, happenings, as long as it makes sense with what the character would do, I think it is good. And I also think it is more suitable for one shots. Because if
Hmm.
someone wants
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
like
of course.
a funny guy moment that they are playing this campaign, and now this is the crucial adventure, and they're about to defeat the bill, and he suddenly does something just because he finds it funny. Yeah, the group is going
Definitely,
to get a bit mad.
that might be a problem. Lately, we have been playing just short-term campaign, very short-term campaigns, so we can test the different settings.
And when
So
it's
it's
one
impossible
shot,
to.
you know that everything goes. I mean, if you know that it's probably just going to be a one shot, yes. But
Yeah,
if you
we
know that,
rarely we
even if
don't.
it's sorry, but even if it's a 5 or 6 sessions, you can already, if you're going to derail it by the first session, maybe you need to control yourself, right?
Now, there's something that I also think will be very helpful for indie publishers everywhere when it comes to you guys, because I think that the Red Room Publishing, they are a perfect example of just keep going, doing your thing, despite criticisms and attacks. Do you have like some general advice for people that are constantly getting attacked because they are not following the mainstream or the norm or certain politics and whatnot?
Oh, well, that's a hard question. If you want to sell, don't do what we do. Behave, and at least do not be banned from Drive to. That would be a very big mistake. Um, but I think I think it's possible for a person to be accepted but still publish the stuff they want.
Hmm.
If you want to publish stuff that drive-through will that will get you banned from drive-through, don't publish at drive-through. Publish it somewhere else. Lulu doesn't bother me, at least until now. So you can publish it elsewhere. Just don't use. Well, that is right. I cannot stop. If I stop, I will give up. So I have to keep on going. But yeah, I think being fake, I couldn't do it. I know that people do it, but I couldn't do it. Uh, Other than that, you don't have to be hostile
Hmm.
and create situations that will. But I'm not saying that that's what I did. We just.
I don't think we were hostile. Maybe
I don't
just
think we
stubborn.
were.
But I think the thing is that people don't understand. I think it's a bit of cultural. I mean, I think
Yeah.
Portuguese people tend to be, not all, but tend to be contrarians. Or maybe because we're a little country and all that, but we are very stubborn. And you say
Yeah.
you cannot do it. I mean, we talked about that here. So that thing that drive through said that you cannot complain about us or we'll kick you out. I don't think it would work in Portugal because every Portuguese people would just start complaining. Are you telling me that I cannot complain?
Immediately,
Because
you
we
need
love
to
to
complain,
complain.
and you need to complain publicly. It's just if you are going to complain at home, just within those barriers, it doesn't work. You have to put it outside. So well, it was a mistake not publishing Men because I still stand by that. We published Men. It was the right thing to do. Complaining about them, obviously, it wasn't right. So no, never complain about Riot Group, even if you don't like what they are doing, because obviously it hurts the business not being there. Um, and Lulu is a nice store, but people don't go there browsing for role playing games. They go there just because they are looking for your specific game. Usually, that's what happens.
Mhm.
And our own store, it's the same. No one finds the red room by chance. I think unless they find a video about us by chance. That can happen, but no one finds a website just by chance. And so that's basically what I would say. Don't be fake because that's terrible. But behave. Don't be like us.
Mhm.
Tend to be
So
well,
there's an interesting comment by OSR Dwarf. The Rifle RPG has tender nipples. They need to put on some Vaseline on that boo boo and get over it. It reminds me of a certain story that I heard in one of philosophy class long ago. That maybe your body was filled with cuts. I don't know where you got into. Maybe you took a dive into one of those places with broken glass or whatever, and you're full of cuts. And if you suddenly decide to rub lemon on your cuts, and you're like, the lemon it burns so bad, but you're the one with the cuts. The lemon is not at fault. You decided to rub the lemon on your cut, so that's somewhat of an analogy to that situation.
yeah, well, they are very tender, but not always. They don't mind when it's the right people. So we talked about that a while ago in our group and in our Discord. There was a it's I think it's not it wasn't still released. It wasn't released yet. It is still just a quick start or something
Kickstarter.
like that.
Yes.
And there's it's called
Iter-
Rekill.
iterate.
No, not Rekill. Retro Kill.
Retro kill.
So
Yes.
players are special agents of some kind of organization that go back in time to kill bad people. And in the cover, there's I'm not sure if it's in the, oh yes, it is a picture of Ronald Reagan and two other people. I don't know, King Leopold of Belgium, and I don't know who is the other one. It's not Hitler, or is it Hitler? Yeah, it's Hitler. Okay, Hitler, everybody understands. King Leopold, the same. But Reagan, why? He was a US president. He didn't die that long ago. And everybody knows that it's not Reagan they wanted to put there. They couldn't put the other one because they might get in trouble. So they just picked up one that is already dead. And they don't mind.
And I think people are starting to realize that it's all a show. If you saw the Traveler Core book, the 2022 update first, it had this cover with like a black skinned woman or a darker
Oh,
skinned woman at the center, and you had like these queer
yeah.
looking aliens on the side, like this the science fiction YouTube, and they realized that it wasn't selling well. And now you have
Well,
the new cover. You have the new cover with a blonde guy with a square jaw at the center and like
I didn't
very
know.
tough
I
looking.
remember
Uh-huh.
I remember the other one, yeah, but I didn't know that
They
they had.
changed it. I was also surprised because
Well,
I suddenly
yeah,
what?
it makes sense. And the art wasn't good anyway. It wasn't really a
No.
good choice. That's the same with D&D. They keep on publishing those books with those that art that always looks the same. It always
Mhm.
looks. It seems like it was the same person that did everything. I am assuming it wasn't. They probably have many artists working for them, but it always looks like the same thing. Always diversity and bad art anyway. It's just bad, especially compared to what they did in the old days.
Yes, because they usually do not really like or defend the things that they are defending, or even the people. It's like the very funny case that happened in Starbucks. There was like this virtue signaler in Starbucks about 4 years back, and she was like, "Stop attacking black people" or what. And she was the first one to call police because a black person entered her Starbucks, and that person was innocent. But the way he was dressed, she thought he was some sort of criminal. So the virtue signalers are usually trying to distract others, making them think that they actually care about this or that. It's all about
Yeah.
getting reputation, money, whatever they are searching for. It is not true. And that's why I always tell people, maybe this is not to your liking, Miguel and Silvia, but I tell people that a Red Room Publishing is a company for people with principles and integrity. They are not there to pander to a particular audience. They have their fantasy, their sci-fi. That's what they are selling, nothing else.
Yeah, we are not
Agree.
selling
Yes.
our agenda. You can have your own. I don't care.
I mean, when people go with, oh, but you're bad people, we don't like you, blah, blah. Okay, so you don't have to like us. Some people say,
Yeah,
oh, it's a hair pass. I don't want your game because you're literally Hitler. Okay, so I think I will survive.
I actually had I imagine that it was a very young individual because he honestly sounded confused. He entered one of my videos, one of my reviews that I do about your games, and he said, "Wait a minute, but the guys at the Red Room Publishing, aren't they like into the guy with the mustache that cannot mention because YouTube, the certain man with a mustache?"
oh
And
yeah.
I was like, "No, no, where do you hear that? Please verify things first. There are so many people attacking others, so when you hear something bad about someone, go in and check out their games and see if that is true, because I can tell you that it is not." And he was like, "Oh, thanks," but he was genuinely confused. You have these very young individuals that are getting their brain turned into mush because they are constantly bombarded with
Might
those
have been
things.
on
But
Reddit. We were mentioned on Reddit when we tried to advertise on the Questing Beasts channel, and there were people there that I
Yeah.
never met, not in real life, but not even on social media, and they had opinions about us.
I mean, I've seen that even before when about people talking about venture in Grim Gym. I think it was a long time ago, also related to us. Do you remember, Miguel?
Yeah,
And people
yeah.
saying that we were bad people because we hanged out with them, and they're like, oh, but in the other case, there were even people saying that, oh, I'm so glad that you told me that Venger is a bad person because I looked at I was interested in these games, but now I know that I shouldn't. Buy them because he's a bad person. I was looking at that. It's like, oh my god, what is this?
And that's
and I
the most
also
stupid thing.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Venger is the nicest guy in role playing games. He's not a bad guy at all, but he has that reputation.
They were also attacking Benger a lot because he does get a bit political when it comes to supporting Trump. And just to make
Yeah,
it clear
yeah,
to everyone, I don't support any of those fucking politicians. They can go to hell. I don't care about them. Biden, Trump, whoever. But Benger started supporting that, and a lot of people, well, they consider that he's easily manipulated into the whole divide and conquer thing.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was
Hmm.
obviously it was mostly about Trump. Uh,
And he's pro-life because it also started with that because he's
yeah,
very
yes, pro life as well.
anti-abortion, and people were well, but he can be anti-abortion. That's just his beliefs.
Yeah, he's not
Why
doing
should
any
people
harm.
say if they are this? I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean being political. He's not saying if you believe in this, don't buy my games. I mean, these are separate, and you can make the choice. If you don't, if you, I don't like this person's political beliefs, so I don't want to buy his stuff. But that's a bit stupid.
So the bad guy was called Derek. That's just true.
Yeah, Eric. And I also tell people if because I've had at most two comments asking about your reputation, but that also speaks highly of the quality of your games. Of all of the videos that I have promoted, I only had the guy that, oh, why are they designing a game about kids? And this other, like a teenager, I imagine, or a very young guy that was asking about your allegiance. But I also, yes, somebody else also told, asked if you were related to some other undesirable individual. And I said, well, if you think that, I don't think they are connected. Elon Musk. But I told him,
Don't talk in Tesla.
I would
I
like
wouldn't.
to be connected to Elon Musk. I don't know. I
Yeah,
mean, I've got some
uh,
money from
I
that.
wouldn't mind
are
be.
you sure? Well,
One of
I
his
there is
need
one
this,
of
time.
his
I
kids. I
need
don't
time.
know. No, I cannot be. Yeah.
uh, because we have a very cool guy, Mark Sargent. He also has he still needs to jump out of the rabbit hole of Christianity. He's too indoctrinated, but he did a really cool video on Elon Musk that definitely a lot of people want to see. He encourages everyone to watch the video. he said you can share it with anyone that you like
Hmm.
because this needs to be clarified about Elon Musk. I cannot believe people get tricked so easily. Here we go.
So my flat Earth friends messaged me saying, Mark, what's your problem with Elon Musk? My problem is you don't see the problem. Let me enlighten you with some of his greatest hits. In 2017, Elon showed up on my radar with the Dear Moon project. I'm going to send a space bus of people around the moon. That went nowhere slow. I'm building a super plane that goes to China. No. I'm going to help Puerto Rico after that hurricane. No. I'm going to save those kids stuck in that cave with my submarine. No. I'm going to make an underground bullet train in California. No. It never ends. He didn't invent Tesla. He bought it. He didn't invent Twitter. He bought, rebranded, then destroyed the stock. SpaceX is a black hole of money. See what I did there? How is an aging programmer with Asperger's considered one of the smartest men in the world? And how in the hell did the media not question that whole Tesla roadster in space? It doesn't make sense. He gets credit for things he just says and never does. He does nothing. My God, I've turned into Mugatu and he's Derek Zoolander. Short version, Elon Musk is a technocrat muppet for the US government and an enemy of flat Earth. Do your own research and recognize a false idol when you see it. Whatever. Done.
And people keep getting tricked. He does nothing. He does absolutely nothing, and they're like he's a genius. And oh no, this
To be
has to
honest,
stop.
I don't really like Elon. I'm gonna say I never liked Elon Musk, but I also don't hate him. Now I think he's fun because people that used to love him now hate him and get all triggered with. So
Yes,
now I say, yeah, it's fun.
there's
I
a
just
good.
think
There's definitely a
you know
reason to
it's
like
people.
him.
That's my favorite thing about Elon
And he
Musk.
purchased Twitter. That was
So I
kind of the
clarified that situation. I told that
Mhm.
guy they are not connected to Elon Musk. They are not
no, no.
supporters and whatnot. They just see him as any internet celebrity.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
that's a weird one. But other thing, I think that some people also that they have no idea who we are. They should for we're not Americans, so he doesn't really care. I've been accused of being Trumpist and all that. We're not Americans, so it doesn't
Yes,
really matter if we supported Trump or not because we're not in the U.S. We have nothing to do with with that.
it was
We
fun
have
at
our own
some point,
problems.
of course, to watch all those weirdos freaking out. But it doesn't matter to us. We don't. We couldn't vote for him even if we wanted. We are in a different country.
I think that the problem with them is that they remember themselves. It's a weird way to put it, but I actually had a publisher that was talking to me email like 3 years ago, and he was saying, "Oh, can you review my game, please?" And I was like, "Oh, sure, I'll review your game. I review anyone's game unless somebody really pisses me off. I review their game." And he was like, "But you have to put this link to this particular cause of mine." And I'm like, well, I can't put the link because I don't know if that charity that supports
Mhm.
a certain group of individuals, if it is legitimate, I could be tricking my viewers and they click on the link and they take their money and they don't help those people or whatever. And he was like, Mo, but you must do it in order to support me. You must show your support to me because I belong to that group of people. So that's why they get triggered. They need
Mhm.
someone to constantly validate their political choices, sadly.
That's silly. So if he's asking for a review and then he wants to share a charity site, there's nothing. There's no relation. Apparently, maybe there is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Strange, strange people.
Do you have any other things you would like to share with us before we wrap up the interview?
I think we covered all the news. I think. Well, there's one thing, of course. We have
Promo.
a promo still going on. This is our third year. Um, we started on 25th on the 25th of April, 3 years ago. And so we have our promo for our anniversary. So I was just
For
let me
PDFs in our store, not for Lulu.
yes, just PDFs on our store. So the code is what is the code?
I don't remember.
Red room 3. Red room 3.
Red Room 3. You
Yeah,
heard it, folks. Red Room 3.
for 30%.
So it's a good discount. And let me say before we close that things that will come, I think eventually there will be a gangster game because we already have a cover for it.
Yeah,
Even if Miguel doesn't feel like doing it right now, there's a cover.
yeah. We asked Rob. We talked about him days ago. Rob Necronomicon. He did a nice cover for that possible game that I want to do. Would be, but not a 30s gangster, a Godfather inspired. So, well, not just Godfather. Those I would say Godfather and also Scorsese's movies. So inspired in that gangsters,
A
but in
mafia
a
game, okay, not a gangster, it's a
yeah
mafia game.
mafia game, and in the 70s or 80s or even the 60s, something more modern.
And is it going to be more grounded, like on a more, how would you say, traditionally realistic situation, or is it also going to have like some fantastic elements?
No, no, no. Right now we are not using the supernatural everywhere. It just depends on the game. Sometimes there will be,
Mhm.
sometimes there will be no weird stuff, no weird in that sense. We have other plans, but we are not going to discuss them
Yes,
right
but this
now.
one has a cover, so it
Yeah,
needs to
but
happen.
yeah, but that one is probably going to happen.
Yeah.
But perhaps a different take on the space opera. We did this wretched space. Now we would like to do something else, something different. But we haven't decided yet exactly what. Something retro, like Flash Gordon or something like that.
Have you ever considered designing a game that represents a certain, like a video game style of situation?
About video games, not really. No, I'm not. I've never thought about that.
I think it would be very interesting if you have like a particular, like your favorite video game and you were to do like a red system version of it. That would be interesting.
I think we cannot do, well, depends. Our favorite video game, it's
Well, we
Fallout.
could do
If
a
it's still,
yeah. I would say Fallout New Vegas.
yeah.
Yeah, we could do something like New Vegas. I don't know,
Hmm,
space pirate.
perhaps. Well, thank you so much, Miguel and Silvia. It has been a most enlightening interview. There are many exciting things to come for the Red Room, and I encourage everyone to check out the Red Room. They have an amazing catalog. They have sci-fi, they have uh, fantasy, they have science fantasy, they have horror, they have modern adventures, they have everything. There is something for everyone in their store. So once again, thank you, Miguel. Thank you, Silvia.
Thank you for
Thanks
having
to
us.
everyone else.
Invitation.
My pleasure. Yeah, my pleasure having you guys here. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, consider joining as a member using the super thanks button. Check out the information in the description, the pinned comment. This has been your host, Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master. And remember, in tabletop RPGs, it's not about what you want your characters to do, it's about what your characters are doing. So, once again, thank you all. I'm stopping the recording in 10 seconds. See you all later.